I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason. His body was never recovered from the lake after he drowned. If you listen to the old timers in town, they'll tell you he's still out there, some sort of demented creature surviving in the wilderness. Full grown by now, stalking, stealing what he needs, living off wild animals and vegetation. Some folks even claim they've seen him, right in this area. The girl who survived that night at Camp Blood, that Friday the 13th, she claims she saw him. She disappeared 2 months later, vanished. Blood was everywhere. No one knows what happened to her. Legend has it Jason saw his mother beheaded that night, and he took his revenge. A revenge he'll continue to seek if anyone enters his wilderness again. And by now, I guess you all know, we're the first to return here. 5 years, 5 long years he's been dormant. And he's hungry. Jason's out there, watching. Always on the prowl for intruders. Ready to kill. Ready to devour. Thirsty for young blood.
Welcome to God's country. You're doomed. You're all doomed. Ah!
Hey everybody, and welcome to Campfire Conversations with the JBoyz. I'm Matt from Galaxy of Figures, joined with
Eric 13th. What's up, campers?
And tonight we're going to be having a conversation about Friday the 13th, Part 2. Now, quite a while back we did a video about the original Friday the 13th, went through it, and we're back bigger and better than ever, ready to talk about Part 2 in the Friday the 13th franchise. All right, now before we get started, let me mention this. These videos are not going to be like short 5 to 10 minutes like us hitting highlights. We're going to go through and we're going to discuss the movie beginning to end. It's going to be a long form type discussion. And some of this is like just right off the cuff. We're trying to stump each other, come up with different things to talk about, and get each other's opinion on stuff that a lot of it we haven't talked about before.
And Matty Boy loves to get me raveled up like that. And once I get going, it's really hard to get me to shut up.
That's what's fun about it.
Is opinions, bullshitting,
exactly,
and rambling on.
All right, so Friday the 13th, Part 2 starts off some location with Alice talking to her mom, just walking around moping. Where the hell is Alice at in this part?
We just went across town, didn't we? We moved to the other side of the lake, I think.
I'm guessing, I mean, it had to be in Crystal Lake, right? She couldn't have, because as we know, Jason's going to show up. This is, we know later on from Paul's little monologue at the campfire that this is 2 months later. How did Jason track her down?
GPS? Facebook? No. I don't know. He just knew.
He just knew. He
cursed intuition. Exactly.
I mean, it's
cursed intuition.
It's got to be something like that. Somehow he knew. But he tracked her down. I mean, I guess it's in Crystal Lake. She tells her mom that this is the only way she knows how to move on with her life. I guess
my life back together again.
she's just gonna hang out near the location where she chopped an old woman's head off, and that's gonna help her move on with her life.
It's like therapy, like face your fear type thing.
I guess so. Well, her fear caught up with her.
I'm thinking she still drives by the camp daily and just stares at the sign for about 13 seconds and then pulls back off.
She's like, "Oh, I want to go down there."
Really?
Go down to that beach by the lake and just see where I chopped that old woman's head off.
Wow.
So okay, we're gonna say she's at Crystal Lake. Jason he walks up. He passes a kid. He doesn't kill the kid. There's a kid out playing in the rain puddle. Doesn't kill the kid though, so that's good. He's not completely evil, even though he's pretty bad, as we'll see later on. But he has to sit there and while he's waiting to kill Alice, he has to listen to her talk to her mom on the phone, which is like the worst conversation ever. She's just like complaining to her mom, and poor Jason's just like, "All right, hurry up and hang the phone off so we can end this."
Yeah, you can really hear him shaking his head a little bit without even seeing it.
And then Alice hears something in the kitchen. And this is my least favorite thing that happens in any horror movie. And it's a damn cat flying across the room jump scare. Anytime there's a jump scare involving a cat, it's terrible. I don't know why they do it. I hate that they do it. But I'm going to redeem it a little bit for this movie. Because for the longest time, I thought this cat was supposed to be jumping through the window. And here's what I've come to find out. Or here's the decision I made.
All right.
Jason's outside the window and he throws the cat in.
I love that.
If you watch the scene, the cat is obviously being thrown. This is not how a cat jumps. It's obviously being thrown. I'm gonna say the people making the movie didn't want us to think that this was actually a cat jumping, but it's Jason throwing a cat in the window. Startles Alice, gives him a moment to be able to go around, come in from behind her, and take her out. Just kind of distract her for a minute while he can get in behind her and drive that ice pick through her temple.
Wait, damn. So
what do you think?
He threw a damn live cat at her.
Yes.
Through the window from the street.
He wanted to throw that kid through the window, but he thought that would be too much, so he went with a cat.
No, he left that kid for the clown in the sewer. But
That's right.
So it could be ran over.
That was little Georgie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was little Georgie. Excuse me. He knew. He's like, hey, go on, son. But there's a balloon waiting for you. But he goes over, finds his cat, and throws it through the window. Mm-hmm. Runs around.
I didn't say runs, but maybe. He walks briskly.
Briskly walks around. Power walks.
Like an old woman at a mall.
Yes, exactly. And does her in. Okay. I'm buying into this theory. I like it.
I mean, otherwise, she's going to hear the door, somebody coming in the house. So he's got to distract her, throw a cat in, and then he can make his way around, and she don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay. I love it.
So this cat being thrown through the window, I'm gonna accept it as a fine jump scare because I'm imagining Jason throwing the cat.
Well, I've always hated that. I really have, because you can really see the impressions on this poor cat. It gets tossed so hard.
Yes.
And so yeah, this totally justifies that scene because it's awful. I hate a jump scare like you're talking about with a cat being thrown, and it always is. I'm like, what the hell?
Because Alice still has to go to the refrigerator and open it, and there's old Pam's head in the fridge. He's keeping it cool. I wonder if he carried that thing in a cooler, like he's trying to keep it from decomposing too quick. So he like was walking around. This is why nobody was like, why is there a person walking with a severed head? He had it in a cooler.
Damn, that's really rotten.
And he was like, all right, now I need to put it in the fridge. And then Alice goes and spots it in the fridge.
He had his little egg glue cooler.
Exactly.
had one on wheels. He just pulled it behind. Come on, Mom.
So here's a little story, kind of embarrassing. Now, when I was growing up, the main way I watched these movies were on like AMC when they would do the marathons around Halloween. I always waited for Halloween time whenever they would show just marathons of Friday the 13th throughout October. Very rarely did I see these movies in order. I would just go in, maybe catch the end of one movie or start somewhere in the middle, and didn't really know sequentially how these movies went along. I never sat down and watched them one after another. So for the longest time, I would just see this head in the refrigerator at the beginning of this movie and be like, whose head is this? It took me so long to figure out, oh, this is Pam's head from the first movie, because I rarely saw that part of the movie before I would watch part 2. So it was just like some random person's head in the refrigerator, and it never made sense to me for the longest time.
And the head, it looks nothing like his mom.
No,
from part 1.
It really does.
It really does. I mean, it almost looks like Crazy Ralph or something. It's
that was another reason, because it doesn't really even look like Pam. So, and I was so young, I couldn't put together, oh, this is supposed to be that same person's head from that other movie, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get it.
But at least Jason is nice enough to take the kettle off of the stove whenever it starts, whistling.
That could have been bad. I mean, that could have started a fire and all that good stuff.
I know.
So.
And that's not what Jason's about. He wants to kill people, but he doesn't want to. I mean, him and Smokey the Bear have to be good friends, because if you start a forest fire, that's Jason's home, and so he's not about starting any fires.
And only you can prevent forest fires.
Jason took that to heart. I'm proud of him.
He really did. He was like, I got it.
And then we get the intro. Friday the 13th, part 2. Here we go. Sandra and Jeff, we got some new counselors coming in. They come into town, Crystal Lake. They meet up with Ted. Ted's famous line.
Welcome to God's country. They come flying in there on some mud grip tired big wheeled Chevrolet truck. I mean, this thing's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
nice.
that truck.
It's really nice.
Yeah, come into this little bitty town, get lost, have to call for directions. As we're getting the directions, Ted's then had one of his buddies hook up with a oh shit, help me out.
Oh, a tow truck?
Tow truck, yes. Damn. Let's say 4-wheel drive. That's what I say. I had the truck on my mind. Starts pulling around the corner, and that's when he yelled it out. Welcome to God's country. That's my favorite line in the whole movie.
Oh, Ted. Ted's going to get lucky later on, but we like Ted. He might come back for another movie. We'll see.
Never know.
Again, according to Paul's monologue later at the fire, we know that this is 5 years after the events from part 1. So, it's 1984 in part 2. Because we're going by part 1 takes place in 1979, even though the movie came out in 1980. But according to the tombstone in part 4, Pamela Voorhees, she died in 1979. So that's what we're basing it on. Alright? Sandra finds a Camp Crystal Lake sign. So now we know they're in the same location as the first movie. So this must be some lake that's right next to Crystal Lake, or really close, because it's one of the signs says Lake Packanack Lodge, right?
Right. Now we need to point out too, this is not just like a regular camp. This is a training center for counselors, correct?
Right. Yes.
So we have all experienced counselors coming back to camp.
You're right. No kids are showing up for this. They're just getting training to be counselors.
Wow.
That's why whenever they have the little meeting, when Paul gathers them out there, there's just a bunch of counselors that's there. And he recognizes some of them, says he's worked with some of them in the past. And they're just there to kind of get some more training, make sure they know what's going on before they go back to summer camps. Jenny comes pulling up in her little Volkswagen convertible. We find out that she is majoring in child psychology, which might come in handy later on.
I was just to say, she's going to, I don't know, she might have some real promise to make it to the end there.
She seems like she might be a very good final girl.
Yes, definitely.
And then later that night, we get the monologue. I think this is a great monologue by Paul around the campfire. He delivers it really well. Like you're drawn in, you're leaning into the screen while you're watching it. And if you haven't seen it before, the jump scare might get you a little bit. It's not that scary, but when old Ted jumps up with his little caveman outfit on or whatever that is.
What was that? What did he have on?
I don't know, but I think that's him standing back there over your shoulder.
What the hell? No, that monologue, when that little story was getting told, that is very crucial part of this movie. It was really important. The whole staging and everything, because like you're talking about, the campfire,
Yeah.
The counselors, the story, we get the story of the actual scare coming from Ted. It's camp right off the bat.
Right.
It puts you in that mood.
Right. And it gives us a lot of crucial information to let us know what's going on, what's the time period, and it kind of sets the stakes for everybody else, letting them know this is where Jason was and he is out there. Even if Paul is saying it kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of in a joking way, just to get that scare in, it's still kind of letting the audience know that things are about to happen.
Yeah, and I always thought, too, the way he told it and stuff was also, if it came open to a new audience that might not have seen part one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it kind of told part one without, and you could go on and continue watching part two without even seeing part one.
And we haven't seen adult Jason yet, so this is kind of letting us know, all right, Jason's body was never found. He's still out there. There is an adult Jason that's surviving on wild animals and vegetation. So it kind of, even though from part one to part two, if you think little Jason jumping out of the water at the end of part one, if you think that's a real thing, it doesn't line up with part two, but they have to kind of explain it to make you understand, all right, this is where we're at and this is what we're talking about. So, and I think they do a really good job at that. All right, we're about to start getting some interesting stuff because Crazy Ralph returns for this movie. How weird is that? Crazy Ralph from the first movie is back for part two.
Made it to the sequel.
He should have kept on making it. He should have made it, you know, if he would have been at the beginning of each of the movies trying to warn people, just always saying, don't go to that camp. Something's going to happen. I think that would have been really cool.
If somebody would just listen to poor Ralph.
Poor Ralph.
How about that? I mean, he really did try. I mean, he come back and tried. He come back and tried. It was just like, no, it's Crazy Ralph. And I'm like, sometimes crazy. You better listen to it.
Once you get crazy attached to your name, then not many people are going to listen to you.
Don't know what it is.
But old Crazy Ralph is peeping in on Jenny and Paul as they're making out in the cabin. He's standing behind the tree watching them. Like, what are you doing, Crazy Ralph?
I like to think he was being respectful. He was just kind of waiting.
He was going to wait for they were done with their business, and then he was going to go and let them know, hey, y'all need to get out of here.
Give it about 13 minutes.
It's so respectful that he just stood there and watched them.
Not creepy at all.
No. Oh, Creepy Ralph is what they should have called him.
Yeah.
But he's standing there, he leans against the tree, and then, gets choked out. Barbed wire comes, I think it's barbed wire, comes down and wraps around his neck. It's some kind of wire.
Lifts his ice up a few inches.
Yeah, that's pretty
really
cool.
Bad.
Now, one of the things I'm going to fight against in these videos are the rules that Randy says applies to horror movies in Scream. All right. So he has 3 rules in the first Scream movie. Never have sex. Never drink or do drugs. Never say I'll be right back. If you do any of those, you get killed. You die in the movie. And I don't fundamentally think that's true. And I'm going to try to falsify all of these rules as we go along in as many movies as possible.
Go ahead.
Because I think we can safely say that in this moment, Jenny and Paul have sex.
Definitely.
Because Jenny says, there's something I need to tell you. So let's back up and go to when Paul was talking to the counselors and he says the thing about if you're menstruating, then watch out for bears.
Watch out for bears.
Yeah, right. And so they're in there, they're making out, and Jenny goes, there's something I need to tell you. And Paul won't let her say it, and he goes in for the kiss. They start smooching. Wake up the next morning, Paul has written on the mirror, beware of bears.
Yeah.
So Jenny was obviously going to tell Paul that she's on her period.
Wow. Yeah.
She doesn't get to tell him, but Paul still knows the next morning when he says, beware of bears.
I hope that there's like a tube of lipstick laying out on that counter somewhere.
That was not lipstick.
I'm just going to say, I hope there's a tube of lipstick laying out there.
We never see the lipstick. We don't know what that was written with.
Yes, there was lipstick. Damn.
So Jenny, I think we can presume, has sex here, and she's not going to get killed in this movie. Spoiler alert. What say you to that?
She was lucky. She was really lucky.
Jason was right outside the cabin. He killed Crazy Ralph right outside the cabin where they're about to have sex. So he could have killed her and Paul.
Could he though? I mean, I don't know, because maybe we don't know what he's done up until this age, and coming up to these people, this is new, and he just confronted Ralph out here, and then he sees 2 people together, and we know he can take them, but maybe he's just not fully aware of that yet. And he's just waiting for like separation or something like that is why. I mean, yes, we get on up into 7, 8, 9, 10. He's going to bust the door down and kill both of them. Mm-hmm. But, like we've done pointed out, he's still fairly young. So maybe he's just kind of a little, I'm not going to say he's scared. He's just a little uneasy about taking 2 right this second.
I'll give you that.
Somebody hit record because he will never say that again. He will never.
But the rule still says if you have sex, you will die. That does not happen. That rule is broken in this instance.
Very true.
But I'll give you that Jason didn't kill him because he wasn't quite ready at this moment. But fundamentally, I do not think you die because you have sex. And that has become the thing that most people say about horror movies. Oh, if you have sex, you're going to die. As if the killer is killing you because you're having sex, which I don't think is the case. I think you're getting killed while you're having sex because simply you're not paying attention. You don't know what's going on around you. You don't know that there is a killer there. You're not aware because you're caught up in your own hormones and horniness. Yeah,
as you say, you lose control just a little bit.
Right.
Things happen when you lose control a little bit.
Right. So that's what I think happens there. But anyway, we'll move on. Now, we'll get to the other rules in a little bit, and we'll talk about those. But we've got another great lake and camp in this movie. Part 1 had a beautiful lake and camp. Part 2 has very similar style. Maybe just as gorgeous lake and camp. What do you think?
It is. The landscape is unreal. It has a couple of scenes of full full lake and camp at the same time, and it's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, it's nice. Sandra and Jeff go running off looking for Camp Blood.
She's just got to see it, though.
She's got to.
She
She's
found
asking
that sign
for it.
on the way there. She found that sign on the way there, and it lit a damn fire. She didn't shut up about it until she was like, Jeff's finally like, okay, come on.
She's not scared.
No, she's like, let's do this.
I like that. She's ready to go. But they don't run across Jason, but they run across a dead animal that looks an awful lot like Muffins.
Or a possum.
I think this is.
No. I think I see some gray, a little bit of blonde up in there. Might have to, wipe the red away. But I'm.
I think it's Muffins.
Muffins.
Which, if it is Muffins, how do you explain the end where Muffins comes running back in?
He loves doing this. He loves doing this stuff.
What do you think? Is it Muffins or not?
I'm gonna go with possum.
So you think it's not Muffins? I'm going with it's Muffins.
Out there living like a wild animal, surviving on what he can. That means possums, raccoons, squirrels, whatnot. Critters.
And while Sandra and Jeff are out looking for Camp Blood, the sheriff finds him. Not Jason, but the sheriff finds him first and kind of rags on him, tells him to get back to the other side of the lake.
Wasn't that convenient? You think he was already out there kind of...
It's a little suspicious.
Yeah, because, he's local or whatever. So you think he was already kind of out there because the camp's opened back up. The townsfolk, they know.
Right.
They know about the camp situation. They're like, why? But
Right.
there's kind of nothing they can do about it. So I'm thinking the sheriff, he's already out there kind of not nosing around, but he's already on alert. The camp's open.
Right.
He knows that's not a good thing. I think that's why he's out there. He's found them.
Well, going back again to Paul's monologue, he says that there are people in town that claim they've seen Jason in this area. So yeah, maybe like you're saying, the sheriff knew another camp nearby was kind of opening up. Counselors were going out there for training, and he just wanted to make sure nobody was getting to that side where Jason's been seen and where all this weird stuff keeps going on.
Or hell, he's checking to see if it started yet. He's like, is there bloodshed yet?
Maybe
should
so.
I go ahead and order up some body bags?
Right. Let me get out here, and if a couple of teens have already been killed, maybe I can prevent the rest of them from getting killed.
Yeah.
But this does him in though, because on his way back out, he sees somebody cross the road.
Just jets across the street, the little country road he's on.
Do you think Jason did this on purpose? Do you think he saw the cop coming and was trying to get his attention, or do you think Jason's just hauling ass through the woods and didn't think somebody would be on that road?
Well, I've always got this weird deep thought here. I kind of thought it was a warning. I really did. He seen the cop. He recognized the cop as being local town folk. He's going to run out one last time. I'm here.
Right.
It's a little heads up.
Right. It's like if you see a bear or something, you don't chase after the bear. It's like, all right, let me get away from this bear. That's what Jason wanted the sheriff to do.
Yeah.
The sheriff.
Exactly.
The sheriff. Maybe he just thought it was another teen out there playing around since he just saw Sandra and Jeff, but he made the wrong decision.
Yeah. Should have just kept going.
Because he chases Jason back to his little old shack.
And boy, is it. Any and everything. He put him together a clubhouse. It reminded me of when I was 13. I loved it. I had clubhouses out there in the woods, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, man. You don't know how many tree houses and just little forts we would have out in all the woods. Man, I loved it. Every friend's house I would go to, we'd go out in the woods, and we had a different tree house, fort, just some place that, you know, to get away and go hang out in the woods.
A safe place.
Right.
Definitely.
I miss those type of days. That was nice.
I just walk out to my backyard. I got
you still got that? Yeah, I've got one. I've got a wood shed back here too. That's basically like Jason's shack. Just need to throw a tarp over the roof of it.
That's awesome.
But when I was watching this, I don't know. I got to give a lot of credit to the old set decorator from back then, because Jason's shack looks really cool. It looks like something you would run across in the woods. They did a really good job just putting a bunch of scrap wood, metal, and stuff together to kind of make this little domain for Jason to hang out in.
It looked as though it might have been made up of stuff that he might have picked up off the side of the road.
Right.
That might have been what he was doing back out on the road, was looking for something. He might have had a hole in his roof. He was looking for a piece of metal or something like that to bring back to his shack.
But the sheriff gets like hammered to the head, but with the claw end of the hammer, it goes, you know, just Jason takes it straight to his head.
Because he's walked in this shack, which is quite roomy when he gets inside. Big
right.
room. Finds a nasty, what I thought was funny, it's got a little bathroom set up in it.
Yeah.
Nasty bathroom.
I doubt it's got any plumbing. He just has a toilet sitting there.
It's got water in the toilet.
Oh, gosh.
And you kind of hear like a drip.
We'll presume it's water.
It's got plumbing. But then Sheriff Dude walks on, finds his closed up room, opens it up, and here's Mom again.
Right. We don't see it at this time, but the sheriff is really disturbed by whatever he sees in that room.
Yeah. The look on his face, it's definitely something.
And not only is it Mother's head, but it's Alice's decomposing body, like, laying at the shrine to Mother. Also, like, it's got to smell. It's got to be awful in there. Back at camp, we get Terry. Terry's going out for a dip. She's going skinny dipping. This is what everybody does at camp, right? It gets dark. It gets a little chilly. Let's take all our clothes off and go jump in the lake by ourselves.
Hell, that's what I did.
Yeah, I was about to say, you did that when we were at camp, didn't you?
I did it every night.
But Scott goes down there and starts taking her clothes.
Terry.
He runs off with her clothes, and then he gets snagged in a trap. Who set this trap?
I think Terry did it.
You think Terry did it? Terry's like, all right, Scott, I know you're coming.
You asshole. String him up.
All right, where were we? Oh, so Scott gets caught in the trap. Terry goes to like get help or something, and then your favorite part.
My God.
Scott's throat gets slit. Think about a knife just running real slow across your throat. This is what happened to Scott. Taking this super sharp machete and just like run it right across your throat as it opens up.
See, he thinks this is a funny thing he's doing right here. No, damn, yeah, he gets it right in the throat. I can't handle that. I can't handle it. I seen it the first time when it happened. Yeah, I seen it. Shocked the hell out of me. That is the only time I've seen that throat cutting scene. It is the most graphic throat cutting scene I've seen. And
you don't watch it all the other times?
Huh?
You've only seen it one time?
That first time, I'm telling you, I do. I turn my head, put my hands up. If I'm in a chair, my knees come up in front of my face if that's what'll block it. I bring my feet up.
Wow. It gets to you.
I can't handle that.
I mean, Jason just runs that machete real slow right across his throat. Just imagine that happening in your throat. You know, just slice.
You are loving this. Damn. Yeah, he cuts the guy's throat and leaves him hanging there.
All right, here's the thing that bugs me, though. A lot of people seem to think that Jason's using the wrong end of the machete. He's cutting him with the blunt end of the machete, but that's not what's happening. This is a special type of machete, right?
Definitely. It's got the point going down. These machetes right here are designed to like go in, stick in, and grab and rip. And it's supposed to be done at a slower pace.
Right.
So the cut was actually done right. I'm carrying on about it because no, I can't stand a damn throat cut. That's just, whoo, don't get me going on that again. But actually the scene and the slowness of it was done right. If he would have done it right, done it quick, it would have took Scott's head off. And I think he knew that. I think that's why he slowed down with the point. I don't think he wanted to take his head off. I think he wanted to leave him there, you know, so he wouldn't be obviously dead if somebody came, you know, if Terry came back.
Right. It's a special type of machete. I think it's called a hawk bill machete. And yeah, the inside of the curve is where the sharp. I think you can sharpen either side, but normally the inside of the curve is what's sharpened. And so he's holding the machete correctly. This is how it's meant to be done. So everybody who thinks he doesn't know how to use a machete, you're wrong about it.
Yeah, and you kind of hold it down. Don't hold it up. It's kind of held down for kind of forward thrust and back. So yeah, it's like he knows this machete.
Right. But Terry comes back, sees Scott hanging there, his throat slit, and then she screams. She sees something and screams. We don't know how she gets killed, but she's dead. She's dead.
No. Terry's body is no more for the moment.
Now, Randy in Scream 2 has rules for a horror movie sequel. All right? Let me make sure I get these right. Let me look them up. I got them written down in my notes. The body count is always higher. There's supposed to be more deaths in a sequel than there is in the original. There's 10 kills in the first Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 9 in part 2.
Listen to you. I'm proud of you, son. Study it.
Another rule that Randy has set for horror movies that doesn't hold true for Friday the 13th part 2. So kind of what I'm getting at is people take Randy's rules as if he's some scholar in horror movies, but I don't think he is. I think he's an amateur horror movie fan. He works at a movie rental place, and he just watches them on occasion, and he sees things that look like these horror movies have in common, and he's set these rules, but they're not true. They don't go for all horror movies for sure, and I'm thinking the more we watch, they won't go for most horror movies. I don't think it's generalized properly. The second one he has for a horror movie sequel is that the death scenes are more elaborate, they're bloodier, and they have more gore. Do you think that's the case for part 2?
No, not necessarily. There was a lot of elaborate kills in part 1.
Yeah.
I mean, we may not have seen them, but the result of the victims, how we've seen a lot of them tied up, the amount of eras in them, stuff like that. No, I would say that they're kind of similar.
I agree. I think they're on par with one another. I think there are some more memorable scenes in part 2, kill scenes in part 2, which may keep this rule held up. So maybe this will go along with Friday the 13th Part 2. But I think they're pretty similar in terms of the types of kills and all. But as we'll see in a minute, we've got like Mark's kill. This is one of the most memorable kills in the whole franchise. But it's not necessarily bloodier than the ones in Part 1. But a lot of these kill scenes did get edited, which we're going to get the full kill scenes in the Blu-ray box set that's coming out from Screen Factory next month, which I'm super excited about. We're going to need to do a follow-up video whenever we get that, watch those, and actually talk about the kill scenes, how they were originally meant to be.
Definitely.
And then the third rule in Scream 2, Randy says, never, ever, and then he gets cut off, so we don't know what was going to follow. Never, ever. But I think it's interesting that a lot of these rules are not holding up for the Friday the 13th franchise, at least. And another one that's about to get broken is we go to the bar, and Jenny's sitting there drinking. Rule 2 was don't drink or do drugs.
Having a good old time.
Jenny's already had sex, and now she's going to drink also.
Yeah. And that plays on a little bit of what your theory of being careless now. She's been very careless. All of them, that's there. So,
I might
rules
disagree.
may not be applied.
This rule does not apply. Don't drink and do drugs, because she's drinking and we know she's going to survive, but she's not just getting drunk. She's still thinking the whole time. She's thinking about Jason. She starts going on about, well, what if Jason's doing this, or maybe he's really out there and he's had this impact in his life.
Some animal.
Right. So she, even though she's drinking, she's still aware of what's going on around her at camp, and that there might actually be some truth to the Camp Blood stories.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not about what you're doing, it's about what you're not doing that gets you killed. That's what my whole thesis is.
Yeah.
But, and not only that, but as we'll see, Ted and presumably some of the other counselors, they stay at the bar throughout the night drinking, and they all survive for that reason. So you don't get killed just because you drink. It saves Ted's life.
It does. Bless his heart, goofy heart. It's probably the only thing that saved his life, because if he stayed back at camp, he'd have been strung up a tree or something too.
Right. Oh man.
But,
that would have been an interesting kill.
He's back holding up the bar with the empty bottle.
Uh-huh. Here's one of the rules, though. Vicky, her and Mark are hanging out. They're playing some games. They're getting sweet on one another. And Vicky says, "I'll be right back." Which is Randy's third rule. If you say, "I'll be right back," you're going to get killed. And this one may actually hold up true here, because when Vicky does come back, she does get killed.
Yeah.
But Mark gets it first. Poor old Mark in the wheelchair. He goes out on the little deck.
Poor old Mark. He's pretty healthy to be in a wheelchair, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but he still can't walk. He can't get away from Jason no matter what, because there's just stairs everywhere. This camp does not seem like it's very friendly for handicapped people, such as Mark. There's no ramps anywhere. I don't know how he got up all those steps in the first place, but he gets down them very quickly after Jason puts a machete in his head.
Very quickly.
But I still think this is one of the best kill scenes in the franchise. This Mark getting a machete to the head just shows how brutal Jason is. He's going to kill a handicapped person. I mean, he could have went around killing everybody else while Mark, chased him in a wheelchair. Mark wouldn't really be able to do anything, but he's like, "Nah, I ain't even gonna fuck with that. I'm just gonna take Mark out right now.
Yeah. And even, it was a vicious kill, and they made it even vicious with, like, the staging and the setting. Because, okay, he noticed her not coming back, so he goes out. It's starting to thunderstorm by now.
Right.
And he's out on the porch, lightning strikes, thunder. I mean, it's just, it's already eerie as hell. And then here's a dude in a wheelchair. And I mean, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, wow. I just got a feeling over here like, oh, wow.
Right.
Like, damn, this is going to happen.
Right. I don't. That's one kill that gets me every time. I'm like, damn, Jason's gonna kill somebody in a wheelchair. This dude don't give a fuck about nothing.
No, he's done. He's done. He's like, I've warned now. I really have. So let's get campy, damn it.
And then we got Sandra and Jeff. They're up in the bed. This is a pretty good kill.
Yeah.
They're up in the bed. They're making out, and Jason comes in with that spear and just goes straight through both of them while they're in the bed. Sandra, she sees them, but it's too late. She can't get Jeff off of her in time.
Yeah, she's tried to. She starts to point, and her eyes just open up, and you see that old spear that Ted had at the campfire jump out. I think she recognized it. I think she did. She was like, son of a bitch. That was at the bottom of the stairs.
Why in the world is Ted got a costume, but he uses a real damn spear? Like, if that thing's that sharp, what the hell are you doing with that out there?
Really?
Jeez.
He brought that with him.
Where'd you find a spear like that, Ted?
Just never know when you might need it.
Oh, Vicky, she's run off. She's so cute. She's trying to go off and get ready for Mark. She is covering her body head to toe in perfume. I sure
Her
hope.
little brown panties on.
Oh my goodness,
Running around the dark.
she's
Go to the
adorable.
car.
She is adorable. But then she goes back and she gets stabbed with a knife. This is the one when she goes up to the bed, right? Jason's under the covers.
Yes.
And she's getting closer, and then Jason pops up. He's got that little black thumbnail.
Yeah. That right there is how you do a jump start right there.
Right.
You don't throw a damn cat through the window. Go ahead and get it out there. Jerk the covers back and let the motherfucker jump up.
Yeah.
But that's how you do a jump scare.
That
right
is
there.
a good one. Because
Yeah.
this is the first time we see Jason with the sack on his head.
Yeah.
We
And
see
it's
him
just
run
like-
across with the sheriff, but this is the first time we get face to face with Jason and this sack on his head, and it's terrifying. Jason,
Yeah. I mean, and stop. Okay, I'm getting worked. But stop here and take it in, because I mean, the overalls, the checkered shirt, like you're talking about, the nasty ass thumbnail, the sack, and you can see his eye is so clear. It's just like, holy crap!
right?
And yeah, it was just a very gripping, great moment.
It
Great
is.
moment.
I agree. I think Jason with the sack on his head is scarier than the hockey mask. The hockey mask is much more iconic, but man, I don't know. There's another scene later on where you see him with that sack on his head, and it's so eerie. This person, he's got a sack on his head.
That's what I'm trying to say. Their head is completely covered.
Right.
You see one eye, and that eye's normal. It's
Right.
a normal eye. But you have no what. It's like, why the hell you got a bag over your head? You know something's wrong with this guy. You know something's up.
Right. And finally, Paul and Jenny, they get back from the bar, and Jenny's like, something's just not right here. They kind of look around for some of the other counselors. They go down to the room, and it's dark in there.
You bring that. Did she have a feeling? I mean, yes, we sense things are off when things are off like that.
Right.
But do you think she had maybe just like a little touch of an extra feeling? Because I'll go ahead and say it. She's going to be our final girl.
Right.
Jenny Hill.
This has been on her mind, as we saw from the bar.
Real
She's been thinking about Jason, and
preparing in a way. Her mind's kind of preparing her. She may not be aware of it, but it's kind of gearing her a little bit toward it.
Yep. And
So,
this is one of those times where maybe she was a little too paranoid, but it saved her life. Like, she would have seemed crazy if Jason hadn't have actually been there, but the fact that she was thinking about it, she was aware of stuff that was going on. She kind of had that feeling. I mean, they were in that dark room, and she's like, "There's somebody in this fucking room." Like she.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. I'm telling you. Yeah, she felt it. She knew it. She knew it when they went in the cabin. Yeah. I mean, she knew it.
Yeah. And that's so you just see Jason like come out of that dark corner whenever she says that there's someone in this fucking room, and then you kind of see Jason and Paul start fighting, and you don't know who survived, like what happened, and Jenny kind of runs off.
And that white sack kind of not glowing, but it really does show up good in the shadow. Yeah. Gosh, during that fight scene when they're flopping around.
Yeah.
It's really cool, the sack. Pay attention to that part.
All right, and then later on, like, Jenny is in the bathroom. She's hiding, right? And Jason busts through the window. He tries to grab at her. He tries to break the window. This is another thing I want to do for these videos. We need to start a window counter. How many windows get broken because of something going through it? Part 1 had one. I think it happens in every one of these movies. Part 1, we got Brenda coming through the window. Brenda with all the ropes around her, she's dead. She gets thrown through the window. Yeah. So now we've got another one, Jason coming through the window here. And we're not done. We'll get to more later, but we're going to try to keep track of how many windows get broken in these movies.
You got to think about it. The sound of broken glass is scary. Usually when you hear glass break, it's wrong. Something bad's happened. Normally that's not a good sound to hear. Right.
And windows are almost like walls. They're there to protect you. And when that barrier gets broken, you're no longer protected. Anything can come through there. And so when it's like some part of a wall, something there to protect you, and then it's gone, it's scary. You get that feeling about it, So yeah, they're used a lot in these movies, but it's an effective way to, I don't know, make you scared, especially if Jason. Yeah, especially if Jason is coming through the window. Jenny gets away from Jason by kicking him in the sack.
I'd find a tree, comes running up, bam.
That's so great. That's perfect. And he like goes down to his knees almost too. Like he took it straight. Ugh.
Yeah, I was gonna say you hear a big grunt out of this silent killer. But of course you do. But Jason's first word.
And then he pops up. We get another moment where he pops up and we're like face to face with Jason with his sack on his head. And it's perfect. He's so scary. Used so effectively in this movie.
He had to have double tape under there or something.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, that eye hole was perfectly lined up the whole time. I was like,
try to do it. Go get you a pillowcase and cut a hole in it the size of your eye and like run around and see how hard it is to see out of that thing.
I'll be right back.
Okay, hurry up. So Jason's out chasing Jenny through the woods. Jenny's running around. Jason comes up to a cabin, and he's like looking in, trying to find Jenny. He goes in there.
He chases her forever, does he not?
He does, yeah.
Some of those things right there, flash up to the sky and stuff. I always love the scenes in these movies. As the eerier, the better. And when I'm saying that, when it goes up, it's kind of like a fast forward motion of the clouds and stuff.
Right.
And it's kind of telling you that there's some time spent out in the woods running around. So it's not just a quick chase back through the woods.
Right.
She's running for bless her heart. She's probably made it around the lake twice by now.
But now she's hiding under the bed. And she doesn't think Jason knows it, but apparently he does. But she's hiding under the bed and she sees a rat. Oh, this is the greatest thing. Who pees? Which one of them pees? Is it Jenny or the rat that pees?
I like to think it was probably a little bit of each.
They both peed.
They
So
both looked at the same time.
so back in December 13th, 2019, I got to go. It was Friday the 13th. I got to go to Hollywood Theater in Portland, Oregon, and see a double feature of the original Friday the 13th, parts 1 and 2, on the big screen, original 35 millimeters, with Adrienne King, who was Alice in part 1, and Amy Steele, who was Jenny in part 2. And Amy Steele
And a big ass grin across his face.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
ladies
Oh,
and
my
gentlemen.
gosh. I'm so glad I went to that, especially now since we don't have theaters anymore.
Yeah.
But Amy Steele tells a story about being under the bed with the rat, and she didn't even know which one of them it was that was supposed to have peed. And she says they use Coca-Cola for the urine, so like who pees like that anyway?
That blew my mind when you told me that. I never knew that.
It's so great.
I went back and watched it like 13 times now. And the puddle at the edge, it not fizzes, but you can kind of tell a little bit that
Right.
it's Coke. Not
Right.
by the color, but I'm talking about there's a little pop at the end of it.
Right. I
At
got
the
you.
edge. It's hilarious now to me. I love it.
That's such a great scene. I love that she comes out thinking Jason is gone. Jason's standing in the chair he like gets ready to swing or something and the chair breaks.
With a pitchfork. He gets up in his chair, a straight back chair with a pitchfork. I'm like, damn it, son.
He's going to swing a pitchfork standing in this old rickety chair and that thing breaks and he just falls ass over tea kettle right on the floor.
He should have got a cat. He should have thrown a cat at it.
You always throw a cat first, Jason. Come on.
Really?
This is just one of those lucky moments for Jenny, the final girl. Chair breaks, saved her life.
Yeah. How did he do this though? It's like because the door, you hear the door shut. You hear it. You hear the screen door shut. She looks out, sees nothing. Nothing out from under this bed. Then sticks her head out, looks up, and he's with a pitchfork in a chair. I'm like, now, he floated back to the chair, I guess. I don't know. I've always been puzzled about that.
Here's what I'm
Jumped
gonna.
to the chair?
Here's what I'm gonna imagine. I need to go back and look at the dimensions, but here's what I imagine: Jason standing in the chair, like he creeps up on the chair without Jenny knowing, and then he holds his pitchfork out as far, or is it a pitchfork? Is that what it is?
It is a pitchfork.
He holds that pitchfork out as far as he can, and he shuts the door with. Imagine Jason stretching across the room, shuts the door with the pitchfork, and then he's like, "All right, let's wait for her to come out from under the bed."
It's that child mentality that he's got. Maybe it is, you know.
Right.
It sounds silly, but maybe he is playing with her.
Right.
Why not? She's the last one. Maybe he don't want to be alone again. Maybe he thinks this is the way we play. We're playing. We're having fun.
Right.
You
He
know?
knows she's under the bed. There's no reason he couldn't have just flipped the bed over if he like.
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
with you. He wants to mess around with him a little bit.
Exactly. Bring the pitchfork through the bed. I mean, it's a cot. It's a
Right.
It's a bump. It could have easily happened. But
Go
what
on.
I say, like he was having a little fun. He was having a.
Go back to Vicky. He's hiding under the covers waiting for somebody to come in there. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He's having a great time. This is his.
Yeah, and like her death, coming on with the knife, holding it. Why didn't he just? No, he's taking his time. He's playing. He
Right.
really is playing.
Right. What he doesn't realize what's fun for him isn't fun for everybody else. He's just having a good old time though.
Exactly.
I mean, the last thing he saw was his mom getting her head chopped off, so he probably thinks, oh, everybody loves doing this. Everybody likes to kill one another.
yeah, this is just what we do.
Right.
You know, because he'd already been treated like crap.
Right.
His whole, you know, when he was alive, you know, forced with people, he was already ridiculed and all this kind of stuff. So he already had like a warped sense of how things worked anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, now, I don't know. It's just really bad. His mind is just, he needs help. He really does. I wish he could have got help at this age.
But this leads us to my favorite scene in this movie. One of my favorite scenes, whenever Jenny's running and through the woods, she finds Jason's shack, and as she goes in through the window, we see Jason running through the woods after her. I think that's a very effective, scary shot of just seeing him. He's not that far behind her. He's still coming, and it's his shack. He knows the way around it, so she's screwed pretty much.
Yeah, you know, that's a good thing about the Friday the 13th movies. We have like a killer scene like that in part 1. We talked about it when the phone line was cut.
Right.
How we seen through the cabin, how they were frantically looking around trying to find the phone, and then we seen the line. The line was the focus, but we seen them.
Tells the whole story without saying anything.
Exactly. And this is another killer view they're giving us. We got this chaos of a chase going on, and it's still going on. It's so chaotic. And then, yeah, you're talking about that little scene, put it right in there strategically to kind of slow it down. It was really cool timing.
I agree. Scene. And then we see it. That old shrine. Got that stinky head on it.
I was going to say, it is a rotten shrine, is it not? It just reeks.
Terror, can you imagine running across something like that in the woods? Going in this weird old shack, and there is a head sitting there with candles around it. What the hell?
Yeah. And then your scattered friends, co-workers, if you would, counsel, laying about the floor.
Yeah.
That he's, you know, already brought back. So yeah, this is a terrifying sight right here.
Right, we can make out on the floor. Alice is there. She's really decomposed. Terry, we see Terry, and we see the sheriff on the floor. And presumably there's more probably scattered around that we just don't see.
Yeah.
But here goes Jenny, putting that child psychology to work. She's like, all right, so he's really in love with his mother. I'm gonna assume this is his mother. I don't know how she would know that, but she does know Pam's head was cut off.
She paid attention. She's paid attention this whole time. She paid attention to the warnings. She paid attention to what happened. She knows that Jason's mother's head got chopped off.
Right.
She knows it's Jason. It's obviously this is what's going on. This is a woman's head here with a woman's sweater. This is this dude's mother.
Right. Yeah. So she puts on the sweater, and she kind of pulls her hair back, and she's like, Jason. Like she's getting his attention, and it's so working. Smart.
She's tried fighting so far. She's tried running.
Right.
So, you know, it's a very smart move.
Yeah, it is, and this is what makes her one of the best final girls, in my opinion. She's my favorite, but she uses her smarts to overcome Jason.
Exactly. It wasn't just all about the fight. It was also a lot of mental went into it.
And Jason, she gets Jason to like kind of bow down at her, and she then takes that machete and right to his shoulder.
To the shoulder. Wow.
She doesn't quite kill him though. I mean, it's not a shot that will take him out, but she puts that machete right in his shoulder, and then like her and Paul just returned. Paul shows up. They go back to the cabin.
Good timing, Paul. Walks right in the doors.
I know.
She's like, I'm done.
Where you been, Paul? What's going on? Where you been?
Really, she's already taken the stinky sweater back off, you know.
So they're back at the cabin, and they hear something. Paul opens the door, and it's Muffins.
It's a possum.
It's Muffins. Muffin has returned. how does this work out? So, did Muffin die earlier or not? You think Muffins was still alive the whole time?
I do. I know you're convinced that he was ripped apart.
I think Jason had already killed Muffins. So, if that's the case, then this has to be a dream. This whole part right here has to be a dream. And because Jason comes through the window and grabs Jenny. How does he come through the window and grab Jenny and not kill her? Again, another window broken. Here comes Jason through another window.
Yeah, don't get me going on the jump start again, because that was the one of the movie. The whole movie right there. Come jumping through the damn window. He don't have the sack on his head anymore.
Right.
Kind of screaming. You hear like a yell. It could be her. It could be him going on at the same time. But that face, when I first seen it, I was like, holy hell.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're gonna say dream, let's use nightmare, because that was scary as hell.
So what happens to Paul? This is one of those much debated things. Where did Paul go? How come when she woke up and she was getting toted off to the ambulance, and she was asking where's Paul? What happened to Paul? Did Jason actually come through the window, grab Jenny? Paul fought him off, and then he killed Paul. But why didn't he kill Jenny if she was knocked out? Like, what's the deal here? I don't.
Why take it to that far and then him just leave her be?
Right. Did he respect her enough that he was like, I'm gonna let her get out of here? I don't know. I mean, he took a dude out in a wheelchair. Why would he not go ahead and kill her?
Yeah. I'm telling you, there's some kind of, I don't know, we really need to look in it further. There's some kind of, like, I think there was some kind of connection. Because, like, Jeannie, how aware she was through the whole movie, just off the little bit of information she got at the front. I don't know. It's almost like a connection. Maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't want to kill her. Maybe he got really close to her at the end, and yes, he turned around and was like, "Damn it, Paul!" He grabs him and takes off.
Right.
And Muffins.
So here's my thoughts on the end. I think after Jenny puts the machete in Jason's shoulder, she's like just out of it. I don't think Paul actually comes back. I think Jason's already killed Paul whenever he jumped out of that corner in that dark room. I think Paul's already dead, but Jenny can't. She's so far out of it. She's so terrified, like she's in shock. She needs to imagine Paul's there in order to help her back to the cabin. And so she imagines that. She gets back to the cabin and she just like passes out. She has that nightmare with Muffins coming back and then Jason coming through the window, but she's just asleep the whole time. And when she wakes up on the gurney going to the ambulance, that's just when she wakes back up after killing Jason or killing Jason. He's out of it for a bit because he's got a machete in the shoulder, so he's got to sleep that injury off. He can't just run back and keep killing her. So that's my thoughts on the end. That's what I think. I think all that stuff at the end with Paul and Muffins and Jason coming through the window is just a nightmare.
It's a very good possibility. I could kind of buy into both ways of thinking, because it is so either way.
Right.
It is so either way.
Yeah.
And because it's like they gave us two endings nearly, if you wanted to go that way.
Right. I mean, that's the fun thing, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's just fun to you get to pick. I mean, either way, the story keeps going. It's not like Jenny returns for part 3, so you can imagine this ending to be whichever way you want.
Yeah. I just keep yelling possum because I would rather see somebody get killed in a movie than a dog. The two, I hate that. So when I see Muffin come back up at the end of it, I was just like, yes, So,
So my thoughts about Muffin getting killed goes back to Paul's monologue. He says Jason survives on wild animals and vegetation. He probably, even though Muffins isn't a wild animal, he's probably like, oh, here's a little snack. I'm gonna see what this tastes like.
yeah,
he probably killed Muffins and ate a little bit of her. See how Muffins tasted.
yeah, very true.
Sorry. So what do you think? Do you think Part 2 is good or bad as a sequel to Friday the 13th, the original?
I think it's perfect. I think for the sequel to, I use that word a lot when I'm talking about Friday the 13th issues. I really do. But no, it was done very good leading off of Part 1.
Yeah.
Just like I said, it could either stand, I think it could personally stand as a movie on its own or be a Part 2 or sequel.
Right.
Is what I really like about it.
Exactly. You don't even need the original Friday the 13th to watch Part 2 and immediately jump into the whole rest of the franchise, because this is the first time we really see Jason. It's the first time we see adult Jason. So you start here, and you don't even have to really have the Pamela Voorhees thing, even though I think it adds a good amount to the story, knowing his mother and what happened to his mother.
Definitely.
But I think it's a good sequel. It's on par with the first one. I think it's scariest. In my opinion, it's the scariest in the whole franchise, because Jason's just so brutal in it. He doesn't give any F's about anything.
And the child like innocence playing aspect that we went over, that's kind of in each killing.
Right. I like that. I wish they would have carried that on a lot further in the franchise, because I do like that. He does that a few other times in other movies, but not to the degree in Part 2. And I think that's kind of makes it scary, is he's so childlike. And anytime there's like children that are killing people, it's a much scarier thing, because you expect them to be innocent. So when somebody acts playful while killing, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and he uses like a Scott when he got caught in the trap and hung up in the tree. Jason uses like his knot tying skills that he learns from from camp. Now we get sent to camp to learn things to help us in life, to make us a better people, and he used his skills in life.
Yep.
He
did.
And that kind of aspect, if you really think about it, that's kind of eerie too, that he used those good qualities that were taught to him as a child in his killing as he grew up.
Right. Where does this go in your rankings, do you think? Where do you rank Part 2 in the whole franchise?
Number 2.
Number 2?
Definitely number 2. Yes, it's
Okay.
a big favorite of mine.
I think if I remember correctly, we both put Part 1 at number 4 in our rankings.
Correct.
Is that right? Is that where
Correct.
you have it? So Part 2 for me, it's such a close race, but I think it would be number 3 for me. It's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but like I said, I do think it's the scariest one.
Yeah. I base them on what I say campiness.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I fell in love with when I very first seen Part 1, was just the whole campiness of it. And Part 2, yes, it's a sequel, and I joke 13 days later, but it was right back to camp,
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was right back to camp. And some of the others are not. They're houses, they're lake houses, they're vacations.
Right.
I look for the campy aspect of it, and it was major campy for me, is why I like
How nice the
Part
camp
2.
is. Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha. I agree. It's a great camp. Is there anything about this one that you don't like?
maybe more going on like the body count needs to be more in a sequel.
Right.
Maybe we could have had a few more killings.
Right.
I mean, I really love Ted in the movie, but maybe he couldn't have made, maybe a few from the bar could have come back with him.
Yeah.
Not necessarily more bloodshed. I'm just saying that maybe the body count could have been a little bit larger.
I agree with that. And I also think when we see those uncut kill scenes, I think that would make it a lot better. Because some of these kills, even though they're good ideas, you can tell that they're not as effective as they could be. Too much has been taken out, and it's just too quick of a cut to really get the brutalness that I think they wanted to come across with Jason in this one. So that's one thing, and that's a very minor thing because I still think they're great kill scenes. I can't think of much else that I don't like about this movie. I think it's really good.
I can't either. You kind of threw me off there because I've really never thought about what I don't like about part 2.
Right.
It's always been one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
So no, I I like it how it is. I wouldn't really change any of it. I think it's a really good sequel. It's definitely the perfect continuation for me from part 1, leading into having separate killers.
Yeah.
It was, his mom, and then leading over into the son. That's just mind blowing to me.
I think that's a really unique way to do it. It's surprising how effective they were able to pull that off, to go to a completely different killer and change Jason from being a kid that we saw at the end of part 1 to being an adult. I think it works like really well, and obviously so did everybody else. So yeah, I think they did a great job transitioning from Pamela being the killer in part 1 to now Jason being the killer in part 2. I think they did that, very, very effectively. And I think this is a great follow-up to the original Friday the 13th. I don't know what more I could have asked for. It's really good. Now, one thing I was thinking about, and I think you'll agree with this, is that kind of a flaw or something I don't like about this movie is that the ending is a little too vague, maybe. I do kind of like it that we can pick our own ending, whatever we like, but it would have been nice if they had done something a little more specific to what actually happened, instead of making us kind of scratch our heads and come up with our own conclusion.
It's nearly it. I love the movie. Don't get me wrong, but it is nearly like they rushed up to the end and cut it off.
They didn't know what to do at the end.
Right. It's kind of like, well, okay, we're here. Yeah.
We might do a sequel. We're not sure at this point, so we're just gonna kind of end it like this. He takes a machete to the shoulder. What happens after that, we'll find out later. So
yeah.
Luckily, we do get a follow-up, and that's what we're going to be talking about in our next video, where we'll talk about Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Part 3.
Aren't you excited about that? Like, this is Part 3. The best one out of all of them, right?
It's got to be, don't it?
I mean, it's in 3D. Like,
third time's the charm.
Stuff almost pops right out of the screen at you.
Right, Maddie? That's right, ain't it? Part 3's got to be the best.
Yeah, it's got to be. We're going to find out.
We shall see. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to discuss and pick it apart.
Are you going to wear your 3D glasses for it?
Definitely.
You've got to. That's the only way to talk about this movie is in 3D. Maybe our video will be in 3D.
Hey, that would be pretty cool.
We'll be pointing at the camera, just poking at it all the time. But in the meantime, leave comments. Let us know your thoughts about what we talked about. Make sure you are subscribed to Galaxy of Figures. And if there's anything we missed, anything you want us to talk about, maybe we'll cover it later in another video. But But leave a comment and let us know if we got something wrong, if we messed something up. Tell us down below. Hey, we're just here chit chatting. We don't know what the hell we're talking about half the time. So join us next time when we talk about Friday the 13th, Part 3. We will not be in 3D, unfortunately. but
Really.
But hey, the movie's got plenty of 3D gags in it.
But until then, what do we do, Matty boy?
I don't know. What do we do? It's been a long time.
Keep it campy, my friend.
Keep it campy.
Keep it campy.
Make sure you keep your sleeping bag packed.
And your tents pitched. Damn.
See y'all later.
Later. Keep it campy.